in Revelation chapter 15, in verses 2 and 3, we find the description of an end-time group of saints who have gained the victory over the beast, over his image, over his mark, and over the number of his name. I'd like to read those verses as we begin our study today. Revelation 15, verses 2 and 3. And I saw something like a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who have the victory over the beast, over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, having harps of God. At this point, this group is seen as having gained the victory over the beast, his image, his mark, and the number of his name. Of course, the question begs to be asked, how did this group of saints, the living saints when Jesus comes, how did they gain the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and the number of his name? How did they face this incredible crisis upon planet Earth? The answer is that they exercised what the Bible calls the patience of the saints. Now that expression, patience of the saints, appears in two very important places in the book of Revelation. The first place is in Revelation 13 and verse 10. If you go with me there, Revelation 13 and verse 10. And by the way, this verse comes immediately before the passage that speaks about the final trial over the beast, his image, his mark, and the number of his name. In other words, this verse introduces the final crisis. And I want you to notice what it says. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And then, beginning in verse 11, you have a beast that rises from the earth. It has two horns like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon, and it becomes a persecuting power. So notice that the patience of the saints is spoken of as a group who have this quality immediately before the end time crisis over the beast, his image, and his mark. The second place in the book of Revelation where this expression, the patience of the saints, is found is in Revelation 14 and verse 12. Go with me to Revelation 14 and verse 12. By the way, this is the conclusion of the third angel's message. If you go to the previous verses, verses 9 through 11, you'll notice it talks there about worshiping the beast, his image, receiving his mark, and the number of his name. And immediately after the third angel's message, we find these words. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So you'll notice that in Revelation 13 verse 10, the expression patience of the saints appears immediately before the end time crisis is described. Those who go through this period must have the patience of the saints. Revelation 14:12, immediately after speaking about the beast and his image and his mark, it says that there's a group that needs to have the patience of the saints. So obviously the patience of the saints refers to an end time group who has this specific quality. Now we need to define some terms. First of all, we need to define the word patience. And then of course we're going to see who the saints are. The word patience in the New Testament is the Greek word hupomone.